This past weekend, I organized a ride through the Mid-Atlantic Back Discovery Route, Section 5, which starts at Mount Holly Springs, Pennsylvania, and rides all the way through the Michaud Forest down to Harper's Ferry. It was an interesting ride, but essentially what it was for me was a shakedown. I've done a lot of work on the Tenere 700. The most recent modifications that I've made to it were the front forks. I rebuilt the entire front fork system. I replaced the stock internals with a Rally Raid cartridge, closed cartridge system. It was a lot of work. I'll take you through that in a future video in terms of what you need to do to replace your front forks. I don't have a garage. I live in a townhouse. This is the bottom level of my townhouse, but I still managed to do a lot of the work that I need to on my motorcycle here. So on this channel, what I'll walk you through is like quick fixes, how to work on your motorcycle, which saves you a lot of money in the long run. So back to the subject of the shakedown. What I was doing was really testing the build, the modifications I've made to make sure that everything works, right? That's what a shakedown is. You get your car, your motorcycle, you get out there and you just scope it out, you ride it, and you determine whether the setup is right for you, not right for you. But what I learned was that the front fork system increased my confidence levels because of the amount of traction I was getting out the front. It's weight rated for me. It's got a 6.4 Newton meter spring in there with the appropriate preload. It was perfect. I barely felt any of the potholes, any of the bumps, any of the rocks. It was like a world different from what the stock suspension setup is on the Tenere 700. Now, through that shakedown process, the suspension was great, but I didn't have enough confidence in my front tire, my front wheel. I still felt that it wasn't sticking, it wasn't biting to the trail. And I'm not riding Paul Tara's type enduro events. I'm not riding the Dakar. I'm not taking part in like high speed events, right? Because I love riding my motorcycle off-road. I want it to be the best motorcycle it can be for me. So yes, the one thing I felt where the bike was lacking was its sticking power at the front wheel. It was getting the appropriate amount of force from the suspension, but the wheel just wasn't sticking. And I'll take you through that. I'm going to show you what the Tenere 700 comes in with stock, and then I'll take you through what I'm putting on the Tenere 700, and I'll talk to you more about why I'm changing my tire and setup. Okay, so let's start with what comes stock on the Tenere 700. It's a Pirelli STR. It's a 50-50 off-road, on-road tire. It is really good on-road. I've never had an issue with this tire on highway terrain, on asphalt, going up mountain turns. It's got great sticking power. You never feel that the front's going to let go. On mild to moderate gravel roads, it is a decent tire. Where it struggles is on loose terrain, rocky terrain, where you're trying to get over an obstacle or up a hill, around a corner. It doesn't feel great. Again, this is all on your riding style. I'm talking about my riding style and why this tire doesn't work for me. So let's look at the tread block first. So it's about 9 millimeters, right? 8.5 millimeters in terms of tread block. In terms of the coverage of the tread block, it spans about 86 millimeters, right? So 86 millimeters. So what I'm doing is I'm replacing this Pirelli STR tire with a Motoz Dualventure front. And you can see a difference in the tread block immediately. These are more aggressive. This is a 70-30 tire. So it's not 100% off-road. It is a 70-30 tire. But just look at the tread block. There are two advantages to this type of tire. One is it offers more bite power on gravel. It has larger channels between the tread blocks. It's got bigger tread blocks, more aggressive tread blocks, meaning that when you're coming into a corner and you need bite, it will give you that bite. I'll go through the measurements in a moment. The other thing about this Dualventure tire that I like is you can use this multi-direct. I've read. Okay, let's go through the measurements on this guy quick, and then I'll talk to you about what I need to get this job done. Okay. So let's zero that again. All right. Let's look at that measurement first. So again, significantly deeper, right? We're looking at 13 millimeters as opposed to what we had on the STR, which was 8. And then let's look at the width of the entire tire. .96. So you're getting 10 mil more. Okay, so it's 96. So you're getting 10 millimeters more as compared to what you had on the STR. Look at the difference there. Can you see that? Look at that. Look at the difference. Big difference in terms of coverage. Okay, so multiple benefits to using a more aggressive tire for the kind of riding I do. I'll take you through how to get that wheel off. First thing is I stick a towel under my lift, right? So I stick a towel under my lift right there. I've got a jack. In Kenya, we call it a jack. That's a jack. And I've set it up in a way that it doesn't damage anything, and it's level. Okay, that's the first thing you're going to need. The second thing you're going to need is something like a stool or a bucket to hold the brake calipers when they're hanging. Okay, you don't want your brake lines hanging. I've never understood why, but it's probably something to do with hydraulics and hydraulic pressure in the brake line. Again, this is amateur hour, so if I can do this, anyone can do this. You don't need to have a qualification in mechanical engineering to do this, but also do this at your own risk. If you're not comfortable with tools, you don't understand the consequences. If something is fitted incorrectly, it is life or death. So just make sure you're taking that into account whenever you do this kind of work, right? So you set your jack up, get something to put the brake calipers on. I have a pair of gloves, I have a torque wrench, and then I've got a bunch of tools in here. And I'll take you through the tools I use to get that wheel out. And this tire is a really thick carcass tire. It's really thick carcass, so I'm not even going to try and fit that myself. But once the wheel's out, I take it to Cycle Gear. If you've got a Cycle Gear store near you, call them and ask them if they do tire fitment. And if they do tire fitment, just take your tire there, take your wheel there, and get your new wheel and your tire fitted. Also, recommendations are to get a new tube for every tire you install. Okay, so I've got a new tube sitting at the back over there. It's a Motoz heavy duty tube. I run a tube system. I have not invested in a tubeless wheel, so tubes work for me. Again, I'm not riding through the Dakar. I don't need a moose. Tube and tire is fine. Okay. I'll walk you through my tools next. All right. So I have this Kemimoto bag, probably costs $42. I'll drop the link below, but this is a Kemimoto bag, and I've beaten the shit out of this bag. It's got holes everywhere. I've put duct tape in there to keep everything inside. But yeah, figure out what works for you. This works for me. And I put my tools away in this bag. Now, I've seen a lot of people with fancy tool rolls. Great, very organized, economical. But for me, this works. I haven't found a tool roll system that will fit everything I have. If you've got recommendations, drop it in the comments. So I have this nice CNC towel that I got with some nice CNC parts. Nice CNC is a fabrication company out of China, and they make a lot of parts for the Tenere 700. I've got a shit ton of parts on this bike from Nice CNC. Everyone calls them budget, but they work. Um, and it's great on your pocket, right? You always want something that isn't going to break the bank. So, tools, I've got two wrenches. I've got one of these adjustable wrenches. I got a screwdriver with multiple parts in the back. This came with my tractive suspension system, so it also helps in adjusting my rebound and compression. Not gonna need this for today, maybe just the screwdriver part of it. Um, and then let's take a look at all of my other stuff. Okay, so I run Ziploc bags with a bunch of things inside. So this is my Ziploc bag with everything I ever think I'm gonna need. Now, sometimes there's things I need that I don't have, but whenever I work on my bike and I find that there's a specific part that works at a specific place, I put it in this bag and I keep this bag on my long rides. So whenever I'm going for a longer ride, maybe a full day's ride, 100 miles away from home, this is what I take with me. I also have a separate kit that has a tire focused set of tools. So this is my tool set. If I want to rip the bike apart, everything I need to rip the bike apart is in there. Everything. I can take this bike apart with everything in that bag. Now I'll take you through my other Kemi motor bag. I run two Kemi motors. Uh, can stick them on the front, can put them in the back, can stick them in a saddlebag. Again, it really depends on how risk averse you are in terms of what you want to carry. So I have another Ziploc bag. This is all tire focused stuff. In here, I've got a tire repair kit. I've got some Ziplocs. I've got the wrench that fits the front axle and some tire lube. I'm not going to use that to replace this tire. Again, my recommendation for a tire like this on a first install, you don't want to kill yourself, don't break your back. So get the wheel out and take it to cycle gear. You're not out in the wilderness, so you can do this quite comfortably. Okay. So in here I've got the other parts, and then I carry a spare tube. So this is not going to be a spare tube anymore. This is the Motoz 21-inch 22.75 by 3.00. This is and 21. This is just a 21-inch tube. This is a heavy duty tube. This is what is going to go inside this tire. Okay. Again, I'm not going to do this myself. I'm just going to disassemble everything and then get that wheel to cycle gear and have them do it for me. It barely costs anything, right? I'll take you through what it costs in a minute, but it barely costs anything. I tried getting that rare Tractionator Adventure in myself when it was new. Now it's easier. The carcass has softened. It's been about 1,000 miles on it. But yeah, take it to a shop. Take it to a cycle gear near you. All right, so taking the front wheel out. We're going to start by loosening the brake calipers on both sides. We're going to get this, we're going to take this ABS sensor off. Here's the ABS sensor. This is the ABS sensor. We want to take this guy out. So you'll take the ABS sensor out, loosen the calipers on this side as well. All right, so here's what you're going to need for the Tenere 700 ABS mount. You're going to need a 10 mil socket. Now be careful with these bolts. They will strip if you over tighten them. So just hand tighten is the way I go. Once you get that off, you can take that plastic guard off and just put it somewhere. Not really particular in terms of where I put my things. And then the next thing you want to do is loosen your brake calipers. Don't disconnect them completely, just loosen them. I've left my ABS sensor in for now. I will take that out in a moment, but it's fine where it is at the moment. Take this out and loosen that. And then you're going to go over to the other side. On the other side, I'm going to loosen these calipers up. For the brake caliper, you need a 12 mil wrench. Loosen those up. You don't need to be worried about that for now. You're not taking the fork off, you're just taking the wheel off. So loosen those up, and then the next thing you're going to do is target this pinch bolt. You're not going to completely take the pinch bolts out. You're just going to loosen that up, free the axle bolt. So you have to loosen that up. Okay. So for that, we need the 10 mil again. They are pinch bolts, so maybe one full turn on each to start with. So one full turn here and one full turn here. One full turn here, one full turn here. And you just get it all loose. Don't loosen one side up and forget the other. That's one full turn. That's one full turn. That's one full turn. That's one full turn. And keep going until it's loose. It's loose now. You can see that it's hand loose and you've got a bit of a gap there. To get the front wheel axle out, you're going to need a 19-inch hex. And because that is torqued, you're going to need some force to get that out. It's not going to be as easy as it looks. So to loosen it, my recommendation is leave your bike on the ground. Don't lift it yet. Okay. And start by getting that hex in there. And then what I do sometimes is I'll stand on it, but let's see. Nope, that's coming out pretty easily. Okay, so you want to get that loose, nice and loose, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, that's done. Now we're gonna lift the bike. This is a cheap stand. It is going on the sump guard. A lot of people get other lifts which are better because they mount onto your frame. This is economical for me, so this is what I do. Now, just remember, as you lift the bike, if you have this set up, your bike is going to lean, so you have to make sure you're supporting it as it goes. Okay. Make it lean. Okay, that's stable now, and I've got some room on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and get that front off the ground. So what I've done is lifted it to a position where I can get the front off the ground. Let's get that in there. Okay. So I can get the front off the ground. Okay. And it's stable. If you don't see it like that, make sure you have someone helping you. Don't do it, don't do it yourself. Don't do it yourself. Again, it depends on your risk tolerance. But yeah. So I'm going to get that out now. So righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, now don't get it all the way out. Start where you have it till about there. I'd say that's about 1.5 inches. Leave it there. What you want to do now is disconnect the brake calipers, and on that side you want to make sure you get the ABS sensor off and secured. So take these two out for the brake caliper. That's fine, it can hang there for a minute. What I tend to do is put these nuts back into the brake caliper so I don't lose them. All right, screw that in there. Okay, and we're going to go to the other side, secure that ABS sensor, and get these calipers off on this side as well. The ABS sensor is here. You can just be careful with that. Don't get grease on the ABS sensor. It's a very expensive piece of gear to replace. Sometimes you can't even find a sensor in like stock. So just be mindful of how you handle that. So I'm gonna get this bolt out. I'm gonna get this bolt out, and then again I screw them in just to keep them there so I don't have to look for them everywhere. All right. And now you can take that axle out. So while you're doing that, you want to support the wheel, straighten it out, maybe put a leg or foot under it. It's not that heavy. Get that axle out. Once you get to a position where it's out, just pull it. Just pull it. So that is loose enough now. Lift it with your, give it some leverage from the bottom, and there you go. That's your axle. It's your front axle. Sensitive here, so you want to put it on a cloth or something. Don't just put it on the dirty ground. Put it on a cloth or something. And then this wheel has two bushes. So let's make sure you store these with your axle nut as well. Don't lose them. And that's it. Now I have a tire off the bike, and I'm going to take it to Cycle Gear so they can replace the tire and tube for me. Right? Easy. And I did say something about not letting your calipers hang. So what I've done is I've got this foldable stool bench that I use when I go on my camping trips, and just stick the calipers there. And that's pretty much it, really. Now I have motorcycle without a wheel. All right, so the tire is back. Couldn't take it to Cycle Gear. Spoke to someone at Cycle Gear and they said they have a backlog. Can't look at my tires, so I called my dealership, Coleman Power Sports. Big shout out to you guys here in Falls Church. They sorted me right out. So they essentially replaced the tire, put on the new carcass, replaced the tube, and balanced the tire for me, and it cost $40. So saves me a lot of time. I didn't break my back trying to fight this tire. Again, if you live in a city with dealerships, with workshops, take advantage of that. If you're out on the trail, that's a different story. You do have to learn how to take it off and put it back on. I do have tire irons on my motorcycle. I'll show you that just to prove I have tire irons. I know how to take it off, but whatever. Um, I'm lazy. I like easy ways through life. This is an easy way. I found an easy way. If you want to do the hard work, be my guest. Stick the tire irons in, get the carcass off, put in a new carcass. It's a lot of work, and especially if you're dealing with motors, tractionator, it's a lot of work. So here's the new tire. All right, I'm gonna lift that up. There's the new tire. Look at that beauty. Okay, so reassembling this tire, you want the ABS side, which if I lift it high enough, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's this side here with that ABS belt. You want this side with this ABS belt facing the ABS sensor. So it goes around that way. Now the thing about the Dualventure is that it is bi-directional, meaning it does not have an arrow telling you which way to install it. So just keep that in mind whenever you do this, if you use this particular type of tire. But here, so once you've got that ready, we'll go to the install and get the bike back together. All right, let's fit this in here. Now, something to remember, because you've had everything loose, your forks are going to need to be realigned. And to get your forks to realign, you have to compress the front. So I'll show you what that's all about once I get this wheel back on. While you're getting it on, before you align your front forks, don't tighten everything. Don't torque everything up. Just keep everything free, loose. You can put the bolts back in, but just keep everything free and loose. And then you will compress it. And when you compress it, you will automatically see everything line up. So what you're going to do next is get the brake calipers on. So you're going to get the brake calipers, take those bolts off. Just set these on the ground. So I've got a flathead screwdriver, and what I'm going to do is just push that piston back out. It's fairly easy to do. It's not that difficult. Once you push that piston back out, it should, there you go. It should give you the space you need to put the brake disc back on. So you're going to take that and slide it in place. There you go. That's one. And then you got to do the other side, same drill. Just be careful with your ABS sensor here and also your brake line. Once you put that in place, you're essentially good to go. You can move your fork around slightly, but you do the exact same thing on the other side. So we'll come to the other side. We'll take off these bolts. There you go. And then just push that piston back and create some space to sit back in the disc. An old mechanic in Kenya taught me how to do this on my car, and it's stuck with me ever since. But if you don't get that back in place, it's going to be problematic to try and fit. So what you'll do now is just let that all kind of hang there and then drop the bike slightly. You're not going to drop it all the way down. You're going to drop it slightly so it's easy to get everything back in place. So you're just going to drop it slightly, right? Don't take it all the way down. I like to get my stand out just in case. Even though the front is not connected, it's not really going to do much. But make sure you keep looking at the alignment. So to get the caliper back in place, you're going to line it, get it on the disc. and then you're going to line it, the two holes at the back with the two holes on the fork. Patience. Oosa. Oosa. Patience, patience, patience. Just make sure that is square, both sides. Should work. Right, just fit them. Don't tighten anything yet. Just fit them, and then we'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. All right, so the same thing on this side. We've already pushed that brake pad back. What you're gonna do is just align it to the fork and push that bad boy in like that. There we go. Go ahead and grab your axle. Let's get this guy in, and it should go in rather smoothly. If your wheel is straight, just make sure you straighten that all up, and then it should get into the other side. So let me show you what this looks like. We're pushing it in from the left, and you're gonna get your hex, push that in, get your wrench. You're not going to tighten this just yet, but you are going to lock the front. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. But right, so this is in place for our next part. You're not going to tighten it, but you are going to put it in place. All right, so that's in place. That's not going anywhere, and everything is still pretty loose. Okay, you're not tightening anything just yet. Let's go ahead and get this back in place. All right, everything's loose. This is loose. The brake calipers are loose. Everything's loose. Okay. But you've got everything in a position where it's snug, right? So the important thing that I've learned here is making sure that doesn't have a gap and that doesn't have a gap. Okay. You're not going to tighten it all the way down, but you're just going to make sure that there isn't a gap. You're going to put your ABS sensor back on. Just remember, make sure there's no grease, oil on that. All right, very important. No grease, no oil. On a Tenere 700, you have this plastic cap for the ABS sensor, so you want to make sure you screw that in. Now, the manufacturer has torque specs. I had to get this from AutoZone because I stripped the OEM bolt based on manufacturing torque specs. So save yourself some pain. Hand tighten it. It is an ABS sensor. You don't need to get it that tight. It is plastic. The cover is plastic. So just look after your stuff. I made these mistakes. I'm sharing it with you so you don't have to. All right, so the ABS sensor is now in place. It's not yet tightened. I will tighten that just a bit. But the important thing here is keeping everything loose so you can get these forks aligned. You don't want the fork legs compressed when you tighten everything up. It'll cause a problem when you ride. Okay, so you want everything relaxed and straight, and then you're going to tighten it up. So that's what we're going to work on next. But yeah, new tire on the bike already. The next thing is just getting it down, tightening everything up. So this is something I saw online as well. You can also do this. I don't recommend it. for final alignment, but you can do it before you set your motorcycle down. So get your wheel and spin it, and then grab onto the front brake, pump it, and just grab onto it. Okay. You will have to pump your front brake because you pushed the piston back. Okay, so pump the front brake a few times. Now the front brake is engaged. You can hear it. Get that rolling, and then grab. Okay. What that's done is like yank everything. Okay. Then you can tighten this, not to torque spec, but hand tighten. All right. This is the axle nut. You're gonna hand tighten this, and there you go. Okay. You're just gonna give it like a visual once over. Now we're gonna drop it, and we're gonna pump the front suspension to get the wheel perfectly aligned. It's not the wheel so much, it's the forklift. Okay, what you're gonna do now is get on your motorcycle and grab onto the front brake and pump it. Pump it a few times. And just give it a visual once over. Everything should be straight. Your steering should be perpendicular, and your fork legs should be straight. So that's that. If you're ever on a trail and you fall and you hit something and you find that your steering and wheel alignment is wrong, that's exactly what you do to get everything back in line. You're gonna tighten that axle nut down. Hand tighten again. You're not gonna torque it just yet. You are hand tightening it. Just give it another once over. Make sure everything looks straight. Okay. 12mm. You're not gonna torque them just yet. Just hand tighten everything. We'll worry about torquing everything in a minute. And then the other side. Be careful. What's that ABS cable? You don't want that getting damaged. Part availability right now is difficult. So, okay. Everything looks straight. Everything looks correct. The brakes are tight. Now you're going to focus on the pinch bolt. Right? The pinch bolts are 10mm. And what you're going to do is tighten the one on the right first, one turn, and then the one on the left, one turn. It's important that you alternate the turns because it is a pinch bolt. It essentially is what is holding everything together. All right, it's going to clamp down on your axle. So you start on the one on the right, give it one turn, one on the left, not even one turn, just a quarter of a turn, and you keep going back and forth, back and forth. And it's just hand tightening it right now. I'm not giving it that much leverage, but it's just equivalent turns each side just to make sure that axle nut is secure. Okay, You're not gonna tighten this to the point that you can't undo it with just one turn. Okay, you still want it loose. You're not torquing it up yet. Okay, what you're gonna do now is torque the axle. Go on and get your torque wrench out. I have the Tecton. It's done pretty okay. I got it on Amazon. But you do need a torque wrench if you're going to work on your motorcycle yourself. Just a heads up. And the torque specs for this are 47 feet-pound of torque or 65 Newton meters. So I'm going to go to 47. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40. Lock that in place. Okay. Again, this is a 19 millimeter hex, so just make sure you're using the right spec. You don't want to strip your axle. And all you're going to do now is get that in there and torque it up. And that's it. Okay, you're not going to try and over tighten things. Okay, that's it. So the torque setting for your pinch bolts is 17 foot-pound. So get your torque wrench to 17 foot-pound, and the order of operation is the same. Start from the right, move to the left, and it's the same number of clicks. Okay, so that's your order of operation to torque this. It's the same number of clicks. So make sure you get the turns to the same quarter turn until you hear the click. There, that's it. Okay, I'm just gonna check and check and check again. Keep checking. Done. Okay, so that's your axle torqued, your pinch bolts torqued. Brake calipers, the recommended torque spec is 29 feet-pound of torque or 40 Newton meters. And I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten that with a 12. That's it, mil torque wrench. Now you're gonna torque the other side. Same thing, easy. There you go. That's it, done. Now there is a torque spec for this guy here. I I do not recommend following the torque spec. What I recommend is hand tighten it. It is problematic if it breaks. And my regular wrench, not a lot of leverage, and just tighten him up. All right, so what I'm looking for is just enough to get it to a position where I think is, yeah, okay, that's it. Now, I've not used a lot of leverage and I've not used a lot of force, so that should be okay. Just give it a visual inspection, and then for the visual inspection, now that everything is tightened, I'm gonna get the bike back up. All right, straighten the handlebars out. What I'm looking at is the alignment of the wheel, just making sure it's straight, and the forks. I'm just making sure that those forks are not in a bind. Okay. So everything looks level to me. Now what I'm going to do, just for the sake of it, seeing that I'm here, and then just grab it. Okay. And that there is how to save a lot of money and get your own front tire back on the motorcycle. Yes, I cheated. I took it to a shop to get the carcass on the wheel. But that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm not out on the trails. I'm in the comfort of the Northern Virginia area, close to DC. So I'm going to use what I have to make my life easier. Right? If you want to save the $40 and break your back, then be my guest. Okay, so what we've essentially done there is save a lot of money, right? It's also a good experience. You also have to know how to do this. If you're ever out in the boondocks and have an issue, you should know how to get your front wheel out. If you've got tire irons, you can take the tire off, fix your tube, replace your tube, get the tire back in the wheel, air it up, and go. But there's also a lot of the alignment things you need to be mindful of. You don't want to ride a motorcycle where the steering's pointing one way and the wheel's pointing the other. So that's the easiest way to get it done. Just make sure you unbind those forks, everything's aligned, and you're good to go.